Getting ready for WordPress's new content editor. You may be familiar with WordPress's content editor, but what you may not know is for over the last year, this editor is being rebuilt from the ground up and will soon be replaced with the launch of WordPress 5.0. This overhaul of the editor is expected to become part of the WordPress core software sometime in 2018. And in this video, I'm going to show you a preview of what is called the Gutenberg editor, which is a motivational and aspirational code word used to identify the projects surrounding the rebuild of the new WordPress editor. Since this editor changes a lot of things for both a content implementation standpoint and from a programming standpoint, there's a lot of changes coming to WordPress, and it's a good time to get prepared. This particular enhancement to WordPress really addresses all of the shortcodes, widgets, post formats, and embeds, and turns them more into a user-friendly block system aimed to help content creators like you and me. I'll dive into some of these cool new features in a bit, but I want to step back in time to explain the significance of why this project is important to the WordPress community. In the early days of WordPress themes, they were sort of built around a blog post and page editor. So for example, you had a header, a sidebar, and a footer, and a vertical rectangle where users might type in or copy and paste their post and page content. This diagram is what I consider a classic example of a blog with a 1/3 layout of content in the blue and a sidebar represented by a purple area. Sidebars typically how WordPress widgets and other dynamic content. The problem is that this sidebar was rather inflexible in terms of where you wanted to show, and it was global, meaning that it was on every page and every post. When the mobile phone revolution started to really take shape, websites and blogs started to conform to mobile responsiveness with fluid layouts that would sort of stack on a mobile phone and expand on larger desktop screens. Since the sidebar and widgets were then pushed down or stacked below the main content area, many developers decided to opt out to just remove them for more of a minimal experience. This made for a better mobile experience, but sort of a lackluster desktop screen experience. Today, the classic editor is being hijacked by plugins and themes that take the WordPress content editor as we know it and simply convert it into just a repository for shortcodes to create columnized layouts. These page builder plugins and themes are popular among content creators, including myself. They provide intuitive user interfaces for visualizing content layout, but they are sort of locking in users as there is not a universal language to manage these type of layouts generated by page builder themes and plugins. You may be familiar with WordPress's existing shortcodes, but here's an example of a page builder utilizing a shortcode system. As you can see, it's rather complicated looking when the page builder plugin or theme is not active. Page builders definitely filled a need, but the problem is the dependency on them. If you deactivate your theme after using a page builder today, your content will look sort of gobbledygook as WordPress no longer knows what to do with the shortcodes that are left over. This dependency on a particular theme or plugin framework is sort of against everything that WordPress's core mission is about, such as being open source and abiding by the Free Software Foundation standards. With the new Gutenberg editor, WordPress is really stepping up and taking back the content editing experience with the introduction of Guten blocks, which I'm excited to share with you in an early demo version available for anyone to use to start testing these new features. In 2017, the WordPress Gutenberg team launched a beta plugin so users can start to test these new features out and prepare their sites for anything that might be incompatible. Do not use this plugin on a production site yet. It is just for testing and checking for compatibility with your existing environment, but using it in a way that is not on a live production website. You may wish to set up a standalone demo sandbox site to play and learn these new features. If all this sort of scares you, don't fret. The classic editor, or the editor that we use today, is also now available as a plugin and will be supported for the foreseeable future after the release of WordPress version 5.0. If you want to start testing the Gutenberg editor on your own, first you'll have to install the Gutenberg beta test plugin. One final warning, this is for a demo or non-production website as of right now. The plugin is somewhat stable, but there are still a lot of bugs and other known issues that are being addressed by the Gutenberg development team. To add it to your website as a plugin, you can follow the standard WordPress plugin installation features that you're probably already familiar with. But if you're not, follow along really quickly and feel free to contact me if you have any additional questions on how to install or what is a plugin. But first of all, let's log into our WordPress dashboard and head on over to the plugin menu. And in this menu, first of all, hit Add New. And in this menu, you can go ahead and search for a plugin called Gutenberg. As you can see, it pops up, and you can read additional information regarding the Gutenberg beta test plugin by clicking on it and learning more about the project. For this particular demo, I'm going to go ahead and click Install now. Excellent. WordPress has installed the plugin, and now I'm going to click Activate to enable the WordPress Gutenberg beta test plugin. By heading over to Posts, you can see now I have the option to add a new post with the option to either add a Gutenberg post or use the classic editor. And this feature or this user interface is only for the Gutenberg beta test plugin. In version 5.0 of WordPress, this won't really be an option unless you have the classic editor plugin installed, because Gutenberg will be the official editor for WordPress at that point. So I'm going to go ahead for this particular demo and hit Gutenberg to show you the new features. As you can see, the post editor page of WordPress has a familiar feel, but it definitely is different. At the very top, we have a new toolbar that sort of represents the editing toolbar that we maybe found in prior versions of WordPress. And if you click the first button here, this will allow you to view all the Guten blocks that are currently available within the core version of Gutenberg. And you'll see it starts with recent, so your most recent blocks. If you click on blocks, you'll get the full list of blocks, including the formatting blocks, layout blocks, and so on. I really encourage you to go through these and sort of explore them yourselves. Some of them are somewhat self-explanatory, like cover image, gallery image, lists, and so on. Other ones are maybe a little bit more complicated. For example, a pull quote, a table, classic editor mode, if you will, and then finally some layout blocks, which these are really what's new to the WordPress Gutenberg or WordPress editing experience, including blocks designated for building a button, building columns to your layout. Remember, I talked about the vertical editor that you can't change. Well, ultimately, this is what's replacing the vertical square, vertical rectangle is columns. And then finally, separators and other really cool features that you will find with the Gutenberg editor, including some mainstays here such as custom HTML and so on. But we'll come back to that in a second. Additionally, you'll see here there is a button to preview and the button to publish, which these will become active as soon as we start to create content. Now, I have a little bit of a scenario that I've created for this particular demo, which is, let's say I am going to create an article about an architect for my blog. So in this demo, I'm going to show you a sort of preview of what it would be like if I created a blog post for an architect that I aspire, which is Daniel Burnham. So let's get started creating a post utilizing the new Gutenberg editor beta test plugin. So you'll see here I have a Word document that I have created, and I want to essentially copy and paste this content into my new post. So I'll start with the title. And as you can see, the Gutenberg editor has a title section, just as it did in the classic editor. And when you hover over it, you'll get the permalink settings, where you can edit the link that people will use to come to this particular post. And as you navigate away from a block or a module, you'll note that it sort of unhighlights, which that sort of makes for a really nice and really clean editing experience. And let's dive into the actual main body copy. So I'm going to copy this, and then what's really cool is I can hit Control V, paste, and ultimately that copy will dive into here, and each paragraph is now turned into a block. So let's say, for example, this first paragraph, let's say I wanted to move it below the next paragraph. I can simply click the buttons, the arrows up and down, which I think is kind of cool. It really helps if you're editing content quickly in a fast way. And all it really saves is the option to copy and paste, but every little second counts when you're trying to be the most productive person you can be. Additionally, let's say I decide I want to turn this into a different type of block. I can click on the little 3-dot menu and it will let me convert it into other blocks, including a subhead, which I'm going to turn this into a subhead because it starts the particular content, the post. It starts the post. And you can see that the editing of this particular post has now changed into a subhead type mode. Great. Now, there's a lot of other really cool features that Gutenberg has, including one feature which I think is cool, which is where you can add a divider. So as you can see, I simply clicked where I wanted it to go, and in here I can go ahead and find the separator block that I want to add, and it'll drop it in there, which creates a nice little division between the two paragraphs to make it much easier for our readers to read and to digest. Now I want to add a drop case, and you may be familiar with drop cases from books, but basically what it does is it adds a big first letter, which is really cool, especially a native tool within WordPress. So if you click on the little gear icon in the toolbar, you'll get a sort of settings. You get the overall document settings like you have in WordPress now, where you can add your categories and your tags, your featured image, and so on and so forth. But also, this is where you'll find block settings. And in this block setting for this text block is where I can add the drop cap. And as you can see, it was really simple to basically turn that B into a really decorative B, which is cool. I love it. Now I'd like to add an image. And images are very much like it was before, except now I would go to the area that I want to add the image, and then click on it, and then hit the plus icon, and I'll find the image. And it creates a little sort of user interface where it says, what do I want to do? Do I want to upload or do I want to add from my media library? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it right from my computer. So I'm going to drag an image in here and it will upload. You'll see it's like pulsating, which that means it's uploading, and then it will save the draft. Some of the other cool features with the Gutenberg editor is the ability to create columns. So again, I want to click as you can see, as I hover over available sections, I can click on it, and in here it will give me the options to add blocks. And what I want to do is I want to hit columns experimental. And it's kind of hard to see right now. I think they're working on this, but ultimately there's two blocks because of the columns. And in this first block, I'm going to go ahead and grab some copy and paste it into my editor. And just like above, except now they're in two separate columns, which makes for some nice, interesting layouts. I can change the font size if I want inside of the Gutenberg editor. I can also reset to put it back to normal. I can change the background color, the text color, the alignment, and even add a custom CSS class, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Finally, what would be a Daniel Burnham article without a quote? My favorite quote of his. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a quote module or quote Guten block, if you will, and I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it in there. Make no little plans, which is a sort of a famous quote by the architect Daniel Burnham, and I'm going to make my quote block, and you can see that it's very much like the current WordPress today, where it makes it look, the block quotes look a little nicer, a little bit more styled to be a quote, but it was super easy, and I can even drag this up to move it up higher if I want. So the Gutenberg editor is pretty fantastic, I think, and I'm really excited to see all the cool features that are going to come out of it as the Gutenberg core team continues to work on it. Probably some of the most interesting things I'm looking at is there is an option to sort of save blocks and convert into a reusable block. So for example, if I have 10 different posts, but I want one area of each post to be the same, I can create a saved block, if you will, and then it will save it into my Gutenberg library. I'm really interested to see how this plays out, because that could be something really useful for content strategists is if they want to keep like a company boilerplate or a company restriction or company disclaimer on every particular post and page. Additionally, Gutenberg sort of makes embedding content from other websites much easier, I think. Now that we have some content, you'll see that these tools up here have sort of lit up, if you will. And if I wanted to add, like, for example, a YouTube video, I can simply head on over to the embeds area. And in here, I can find a whole bunch of websites that Gutenberg will support, including YouTube. And let's see here. YouTube is one of the first ones. I can click YouTube. And in here, I could just enter the YouTube URL and hit embed. It's super simple to use. It's actually sort of similar to what WordPress does now with OEmbed, but the OEmbed process I think was really confusing for people because it didn't really show them what to do. So this way, it gives them a little bit of an interface to use the Gutenberg, to use the embed feature easier. Finally, obviously, I can hit preview. It's going to show a preview of my post. This is using the Wise theme for my website, which this part here is not part of Gutenberg, but anything down from here is all Gutenberg. And you can see my 2 columns. You can see that the Gutenberg is working to make this site look pretty awesome, which I'm excited to see how this is going to play out in the future. There's obviously still a lot of stuff they're working on. There's some bugs they're squashing. There is some other formatting issues, other ideas that they're still sort of hashing out. But this is the time to be part of the conversation because ultimately we're the ones who are going to have to use this, meaning the content creators. And this is the time to sort of play with it, think about what would make this awesome, and then tell the Gutenberg development team via their various areas to show them, hey, wouldn't it be cool if it had this? Or I think this could be done this way. So feel free to leave a comment on this particular video, and I'd be happy to share it with the Gutenberg team for you. Or go on over to make.wordpress.org, and you'll find out how and where the developers of WordPress sort of hang out and where you could get in touch with them. Here are some of my field observations from using and testing the Gutenberg editor. Number 1, it definitely challenges the status quo of what we know as WordPress. A lot of established plugin and theme authors are sort of scrambling to reinvent their products for the Gutenberg world, with some even considering of just completely opting out, which that may cause some compatibility problems or require users to find alternative solutions to fit their needs. Given that much of WordPress is open source and free software, there are also some challenges for the community to sort of reinvent their existing offerings to be compatible. But like anything that changes, do also expect to see a land rush of new plugins and themes that will create more flexibility for the editor, which competition is a great way to spark new ideas within the marketplace and make the entire experience better for the good. Number 2, my best advice is to start testing and playing now. You too can download the Gutenberg beta test plugin for free at wordpress.org, but be sure to start testing on a non-production website. There are many features and bugs that are working on, and not all plugins and themes are compatible or will be compatible with this new editor and framework. Also, I want to point out that the Gutenberg editing philosophy is poised to enter more areas of the WordPress ecosystem, such as headers, footers, and other areas in the future. Finally, as always, spread the word. Be sure to spread the word if you have any ideas on how you think Gutenberg could better help you or a plugin for Gutenberg that would make it better for you. Feel free to leave a comment on this video and I will share that with the team, or feel free to go ahead yourself and head on over to make.wordpress.org and read up on what is going on in the development world of WordPress. This is a time to voice your opinion because the development team is looking for feedback, especially from content creators like you and me. Also, be sure to tell a friend about these new changes and maybe even send them this video to alert them that this change is coming to WordPress and they probably want to get prepared for it. Thanks again for watching this Content Academy quick tip. I hope you found it valuable and actionable. I know I have a lot of ideas on how I can use Gutenberg to amp up my content strategy, and I will be for sure to share them with you in this video series. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more Content Academy quick tips, and head on over to contentacademy.com to learn more about our community of content strategists. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.